This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Brought to you by Slapsticks Comedy Club. Open mic tonight, 9 o'clock, and stand-up and all weekend long, improv on Saturday night. I'll be there on August 6th and 7th doing stand-up and improv. So get your tickets now, slapstickscomedy.com. And please realize, YouTube commenters, that this is tongue-in-cheek. But I thought we'd have a little fun with this since we might not get to do this very often now that Texas is going to the SEC. So this is top 5 reasons that the University of Texas is the worst. Number 5.
The worst.
The disdain.
Wait a minute, we're adding musical jingles to this?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, good.
We are. Thank you, John Ralphio. Number 5, the disdain they have for the rest of their conference brethren. Because look, they really do. They have no, I get rivalries, but it really does feel like they're saying, like, look, the Big 12 should be better, and that's on all of you guys.
Yeah, basically.
It's not on them for not being better.
Yeah.
Well, it never has been, it's always been, like, when they were struggling a couple years back, finding consistency in football, I remember reading countless comments from Texas fans about just the Big 12. The Big 12 sucks. We went out of the Big 12. And I've never understood why they hated the Big 12 so much, because it was their creation. And then it was even more theirs once they basically, had the TIF that sent off, 4 other schools to other Power 5 conferences. And the Big 12 is yours. If you hate it, it's your creation. I just have never understood that. It's such a strange thing to me why there was such a disdain towards the Big 12.
All right, number 4.
The worst.
Their lack of perspective, Craig, what you just said. I mean, you created this.
Yeah.
You did this. You did not let A&M go to the SEC in 1996 when they wanted, and actually in 1992 when they wanted to go, or 89, whenever Arkansas went. They wanted to go then. Then they wanted to go again later on, and you didn't let them go then. So twice you didn't let A&M go to the SEC. Everything happened here politically. This is on you. So them admitting that the SEC is better is them admitting, without admitting it, that they failed.
Yeah, I guess in a way that's absolutely true. And they had every chance to make every power move and have full control. And you know what? They decided, I think there was definitely in some of that discussion from the fan base about the Big 12 and sucks. I do think there was a lot of we got to go to Ames and Waco and we got to go to these places and we'd rather be going to Starkville. I don't know, it's that much different, or Atlanta or whatever, having those bigger matchups. I mean, that's definitely been a part of that argument of why they hated the Big 12. But yeah, I mean, there is a little bit of a lack of perspective, seeing as how they've basically been the one moving all the chess pieces this entire time, and now they're just clearing the board and walking away.
Has the Pac-12 lost anybody?
No.
Did the Big 10 ever lose anybody?
No.
Has the SEC lost anybody?
No.
The Big 12 is the one that loses everybody, right?
Yeah.
They've now lost, 6 teams?
Colorado, Missouri, Arkansas.
Well, Arkansas wasn't in the Big 12.
Colorado, Missouri, Texas A&M, Nebraska, Oklahoma now, and Texas. And it's their conference.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Right.
It's totally
That's the conference that they basically built.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was the Southwest Conference was, you talk about a dumpster fire. They were a train wreck, and yet somehow was able to build the Big 12 and convince everybody what they did and what they needed was best for the conference that's falling apart again.
All right, number 3.
The worst.
The misperception of their place in college football history.
At Paul Catalina on Twitter.
Look, they have a great history. But outside of 2005 and 2008, they are
2009.
They are a good team, not
8 and 9.
Yeah. They are a good team, not a great team. And the misperception of their place in college football history kind of goes for the entire state of Texas. They're just the biggest dog in that, because there's only been one national title in the state that's supposed to have all the talent since the 70s.
From 1970, they split it. In 2005, it's been all those years, now 2021. The state with so much talent, which it does, but thinks it has the most or the best. And I love Texas high school football. Has won national title since 1970.
But there's a misperception that there are other, I think a lot of Texas fans put themselves on par with Alabama, and they're about to find out for real that they're not. Alabama's the college football Vatican, guys. There's only one Vatican. That's them. They're Alabama. No one else is.
Since Saban.
Yeah. Well, but I mean,
I know, but they had Paul Bear Bryant. Texas had Darrell Royal.
Yeah.
And Mac Brown. So it's not like Alabama hasn't lost the Vatican a few times. But I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
6th among Oklahoma, Texas are 2 among the top 6 winningest programs ever.
Yes.
They have a lot of national titles. They have Heisman Trophy winners. They have an incredible history. But overall, it's
but I also do look at history in college football. To me personally, since desegregation has changed a lot of things. And you have to look at it differently because there's more people that were allowed to play that were not allowed to play
since the late
before.
60s, early 70s.
Yes.
Right. Then they have – and okay.
And I would say, too, is, this doesn't really mean anything in the long run, but it's just of note is that they went from a conference where there was only one other team that could proclaim to have more Heisman, which OU has, I think 4 more Heisman than Texas does. They've got a couple more national titles. I don't know what the All-Americans count and all that is, but that's really the only school that could say, we best you in this, or we're at least on par with you. Nobody else has a national title except for Oklahoma State in 1940, whatever.
Right.
But they don't. There's a Heisman here and there. Barry Sanders at OSU, RG3 at Baylor.
Yeah.
But now they're walking into a conference where there's a handful of schools that have as many or more titles, as many or more Heisman, as many of everything.
Here's one of the misperceptions
which is what they want to join.
We're 79 and 27 against somebody. That's the case, but not what you are right now and have been is Michigan or Nebraska or Miami.
And look, I would say
and there's nothing wrong with that.
And I would say the same thing about Michigan. If we're doing I would say the same exact thing.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're saying we were great in the 40s. Good.
Well, or
I know. I mean, I'm not saying it's Michigan, but all right. Number 2,
the worst.
The entitled fan base. Oh dear. I mean, we went on this one the other day. But look, money.
This is not number 1?
No. No, number 1 you'll like.
TJ and others, they're the ones that even admit number 2.
Yeah. But number 2, listen, money doesn't buy happiness, guys.
Some people believe it does.
But money doesn't buy happiness.
No, but when they're not winning, then we earn more than anybody else.
But here's the thing, it's not their money.
I know.
That's what I don't understand.
It's
not your money. It's the school's money. Why do you brag about someone else's money?
Should I brag because I shop at Amazon instead of Target because Bezos is the richest guy?
But does Ohio State have the same problem?
I'm sure they probably do. We just
Southern Cal,
that's the thing is we follow Texas closer because they're closer. I mean, but I'm sure there's Michigan State fans saying the same thing about Michigan and Ohio State and all of that. And when you've got the history they do, you're going to be a little bit entitled. I do think that, there's times where maybe their image of where they are in the pecking order is a little bit higher than what it actually is. But, I mean, they have a reason to feel that way in most cases. And, I get it to a certain extent. But that is also what is a huge turnoff for me and why I, don't always vibe with that.
Okay.
All right. And number 1.
The worst.
It's never their fault. It was not their fault the last time this happened. It was not their fault the first time it happened. It's somehow they're going to find a way to spin it that it's not their fault this way, just like it's not their fault that everyone else is doing horns down. You're hurting our feelings. It's your fault.
You're hurting I think fans get upset with horns down. I don't care. I don't know if a UT player gives a damn, but they'll remember it. If somebody does a horns down when they score or whatever, maybe the players remember it. I think it's the fan base that probably has more of a problem with that. That's why it's so silly the penalty is called, because you're not hurting the players. If you do that in front of, just name some of the great players. They got hundreds of them, right? But I don't think the players get offended. I think they get pissed. I think the fans are the ones who get offended. That's not fair.
And the university does.
Yeah.
But look, they're about to go to, I'm telling you about horns down. They're about to go to a league that taunts with hand gestures badly.
Throw shoes.
I mean, exactly.
the Gator clap, right?
Yeah. And the Gators have never complained about it. It's just part of the thing. So here's what happens when you get a horns down. Do their slogan just right back. What you do?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how that's going to be viewed, and I don't really care either. But I will say it's not their fault thing. I don't believe they even probably care whether or not people think it's their fault or not. If that's the perception, if I'm Texas or Oklahoma fan, I don't think I care that you're saying it's my fault. Yeah, it's clearly my fault that we're the ones making this move and doing this, and clearly have been having these discussions behind closed doors. And, like I said multiple times throughout the show, I don't blame Texas or Oklahoma for making this move. I mean, I blame them for being the ones breaking it up, but I think they're perfectly fine being viewed as the ones at fault, because the payoff for it and the lack of any kind of penalty, it's all still going to be very beneficial for them. But yeah, I mean, in the past, certainly the Big 12's a mess, and not acknowledging that they're probably a part of the reason why it is in the mess that it's in at various stages. But yeah, I don't think they care about being at fault.
One of the things I'll say about Oklahoma is I don't know if they're capable of this 10 years ago. And I'm not trying to say they haven't. I love Oklahoma's history and tradition and watched it head on with Nebraska for all those years, right? It's one of the great rivalries that's renewed this year, and that'll be 50-17 the first game back. But I think that they've become even more, they've always been a powerhouse in football. I mean, they've had their ups and downs, but I think they're more of a national brand than ever before.
Certainly, yeah.
I think they are. I really think they are. And they've kind of positioned themselves even better than when all this went down some 10 years ago.
No, I think they were always one of the elites, but I think they've taken a different step up with this move. I think Texas has taken a different step up with this move as well. Now they're joining a lot of the other elites. And, that's going to be the fun part, is to see who kind of emerges from that and who's able to navigate those waters best. Is it the same SEC schools, or do Texas and Oklahoma throw a gigantic wrench in the upsetting the apple cart? But yeah, I mean, look, if you're a Texas or Oklahoma fan, you might think it's not the greatest idea. Maybe you were kind of a fan of the Big 12 format and all of that. I can see where some aren't on board, but ultimately the payoff and the final result versus just continuing to navigate these same waters, it's a no-brainer, guys. It's a total no-brainer. People can be angry all they want, but bottom line is, if I was in Oklahoma and UT shoes and you said there's an opportunity for both of you to join together, keep your rivalry, all of that, and now throw A&M Arkansas in the mix and all these other premier programs, Baylor would have done it in 2 seconds. Iowa State, Texas Tech, all the ones complaining today. So, yeah, maybe it wasn't done the right way, but I don't know what the right way would have been to say that you're leaving a conference and breaking it up. So, you got to give them credit for being more ruthless, and I don't mean that as a negative, but that's why they're Oklahoma and Texas. That's why they are at the levels, because they make moves like this, and they're not afraid to, and they're not afraid what people think about it. And the other teams have hopefully learned that, all that talk about trust or all that, it's still politics at the end of the day, and it's still just all about money. So if your mind isn't geared in that direction, it better be now, because there's not going to be a bigger wake-up call.
By the way, Jackson asked, did Ross ever come on? No, he told me he was on the phone with an AD. I don't know who was a part of the conference call or what, but he's got a job to do, and his number one job is